Welcome to the Automotive Blockchain channel, everyone. Hey, for you subscribers out there, I thank you very much for subscribing. I really do appreciate it. And as I always say, a love dub goes out to my heart to you and to all of those who are also new to this channel and finding your way here to the Automotive Blockchain channel. A love dub goes out to you too. Today, we're going to focus on this particular article. And this comes from the Montley Fool, the 3 most dangerous investing bubbles waiting to burst. Now, I don't know who this Sean Williams person is. I saw this article, I read it, and I said, this is something interesting that I think my listeners would like. So here we go. In here, and the 3 most dangerous investing bubbles awaiting to burst. This particular writer, Sean Williams, comes out and says, although the stock market volatility is always present, this year has truly been something else. We've watched the benchmark S&P 500, and he goes on to talk about that. Here's the key thing with this, is that he breaks these 3 things out, and he says, no matter how well or poorly the stock market is performing, there always seems to be at least one potential bubble waiting to burst. But with this exuberance in full force following the thing that's going on in the world, vaccine and data, I see 3 dangerous bubbles waiting to collapse. And he breaks those out. And this is part of the reason why I wanted to bring this in here. Okay, electric vehicles. One of the one industry within the stock market that's exhibiting exceptionally high levels of irrational exuberance is electric vehicles, or EVs. And for those of you that have not been keeping track of electric vehicles, their stocks have been just going through the roof. And it's not just the 2 he's going to be talking about here. It says the thesis behind buying electric vehicles stocks is simple to understand, and it generally makes sense. With most developing countries focused on reducing their carbon footprint, EVs have become the future for the automotive industry. Now, one of the things I want to interject in here in this is that keep in mind that even though in this article he does specifically mention Tesla as well as NIO, I want to just keep in mind that all manufacturers that you've heard me talk about in this particular channel, they're all moving over to electric vehicles. They have standards that they need to comply with, not just U.S. standards, but also European standards, as well as Asian standards, and I think even Africa is coming on board with some standards too. So different countries in Africa are coming on with their own standards as well. So that being said, the article goes on to read that it's not a matter of if EVs will take over our highways, but simply a matter of when that might happen. And he mentions how Tesla as well as NIO stocks have just skyrocketed. For instance, Tesla has skyrocketed 590% on a year-to-date basis through November 26th of 2020. Just think about that, 590% it has grown. And NIO has gained a not too shabby 1,240% gains during the same time. So that is something to keep in mind for those of you that have invested into those 2 particular companies. Congratulations. And I want to throw this out here because I should have said this in the beginning. This is not me giving you any type of investment advice. I am not a financial advisor. Please continue to do your research before investing. Don't use this channel as a kind of a hint of any kind to say, oh, I need to go and invest in this sort of whatever it may be. No, do your research. And either in this particular author, he's going to suggest that as well. But definitely do your research. All right. So now, going on to that, one thing to keep in mind when you're looking at Tesla and General Motors, and you're thinking about these, and you're thinking about how it pertains to the market and where things are going. Everybody knows that Tesla is one of the largest, electric vehicle manufacturers in the world. Now, the reason why I say one of the largest is because people like General Motors, Ford, Toyota are also creating electric vehicles, and basically they're bigger companies than Tesla. So it reads down here that at $544 billion, Tesla's market cap is higher than General Motors, Ford, Toyota, Volkswagen, Honda, Nissan, Ferrari, and Fiat combined. All right, their market cap is larger than that combined. However, they only produce about 500,000 electric vehicles this year alone. So just think about that a minute. They're at $544 billion with a B market cap, which is larger than all of the manufacturers that you would find and love and dear, at least here in the U.S., combined. And you might want to throw Renault in there because they might be thrown in there too. So that's just something to keep in mind with that. So electric vehicle manufacturers are likely to face, and I want you guys to pay close attention to this, electric vehicle manufacturers are likely to face production expansion hurdles and competitive concerns as every auto company under the sun tries to get their foot in the door. I personally don't think that they're trying to get their foot in the door. It's just coming. There's no trying at all. It's just going to happen. And we, the people who are buying the vehicles, are going to decide what we like and what we don't like. And I just been being in the automotive industry for nearly 20 years. I can honestly say about this is that people are just going to buy the electric vehicles probably in line with the models that they currently are buying. You won't see too many people jumping ship too much. Now, that said, I have to admit that some of the new Kias that are coming out, like that Telluride and some of the K5s, those are pretty sweet vehicles. Now, going on to that, one other thing to keep in mind when it comes to investing, while this particular author is talking about the bubble bursting, I have a tendency to look at it this way. Also keep in mind that the cobalt associated with the electronic batteries, the batteries themselves, is something to keep in mind from an investment purpose. That's what I think to myself. Once again, you have to do your research on that. So he doesn't really write about that in here. He talks about on the manufacturer side with the manufacturers creating the vehicles. But if you're looking at the cobalt stocks and the actual mining of those stocks and the mining companies who create, who bring the raw product to the manufacturers, that might be another area of which is not going to go away. And the reason why I say that is because as these manufacturers, especially the ones you seeing on your screen here, if you're looking versus just listening, which I do appreciate you listeners, they haven't even begun to scratch the surface in bringing their vehicles into mass production, their electric vehicles into mass production at a large scale, in my opinion. And I'm talking about bringing all of their models that they have into complete electric, where there's no gasoline engines or there may be hybrid engines on all cases. So you haven't even seen that yet. And when that comes into play, all the cobalt and the raw materials that are not going to be cobalt, one should definitely look at. So definitely on the electric vehicle side, go ahead, do your research on that before considering any type of investing. There are a lot of channels out there that talk about that. Let's move on to the second point. The second point he talks about is SPACs. Now, I'm going to be straightforward with you. SPACs is completely out of my wheelhouse. Actually, the first time I had ever heard of SPACs was from the crypto teacher. I've never met that person or spoke with that person, but he definitely enlightened me a little bit onto that. But SPACs are those special purpose acquisition companies. And I'll read the first little bit here and move on to the other side of the automotive, which is the cryptocurrency side of this. So SPACs are another potential dangerous bubble that is brewing is special purpose acquisition companies, and that is SPACs. A SPAC is essentially a blank check company. It goes the traditional initial public offering, that IPO route, to raise the capital, then seeks to make acquisitions that grow in value. In other words, investors are handing over their money, this says their capital, let's just keep it real, their money, and entrusting that management team of a SPAC will make a smart acquisition to increase the value of their investment. Now, I'm here to put it this way. There is no darn way you would want to do that with your money, in my opinion. Yes, I understand from what I've heard from other channels that, it's just one of those things where if you find the right one, it's a great investment. I get it. I've heard that before. I'm looking at it this way. If I had my mama's sweet potato casserole, recipe, and I wanted to get it out there, I probably wouldn't trust someone who necessarily didn't have invested interest in my mama's sweet potato casserole in order to make sure that they're getting it out there to Betty Crocker. I'd want to be there all along the way, making sure I'm CC'd on the emails, etc., of what's going on. You know what I mean? I just got to bring it down home for everybody. So that's the way I look at it on that. All right. Now, going to the third one. If you want to read more about SPACs, go ahead and click on the link in the description. You can get an idea of what Montley Fool is talking about. I'm going to go to the cryptocurrency side. This is the third reason of why he's saying this could be a bubble. Now, I have to admit, when I first read this, I I had a particular opinion about it, but then I read it again and I said, okay, now I see where this author's coming from. So let's dive into it, okay? So since the year began, the big three crypto companies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple. Okay, everyone who's listening to this, please don't bash this author, Ripple. We understand he means XRP, okay? Have gained 152%, 131%, and 216% respectively. Yes, I know for those of you who are XRP, Ripple, and XRP, Ethereum, and Bitcoin owners, baggers, hodlers, I get it. I'm like you. We're loving it right now at this point in time of November of 2020. Okay. Now, one of the biggest issues this author goes on to write with cryptocurrencies is that it often lacks utility. This is where I say, do your research. The biggest problem you have with those thousands and thousands of cryptocurrencies that are out there is that, one, there's thousands and thousands of them. And anyone who's been in this industry long enough knows that 90% of those things are going away. For those of you that are new to this industry and just trying to find, and you found your way to this video, keep in mind that all of those other, you're trying to figure out, where in the world should I start investing? Where in the world should I start looking into these things? Do your research and look for companies that have a real world utility. They have something that they can, a problem that they can solve in the real world, and they have the funding and the backing behind that, and they're showing signs of bringing things to market. So definitely do your research on that. And when it comes to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple, yes, they are ones that are doing that. And those are, just so you know, for those of you who are new to this channel, cryptocurrencies, when you see Bitcoin, that is like a first generation cryptocurrency. When you see Ethereum, in my opinion, Ethereum is a second generation cryptocurrency. When you start seeing things like Ripple and I'm just going to use their ticker symbol so everyone knows. When you use XRP or XLM, which is Stellar, you start in Hedera Hashgraph, you start seeing things that are more third generation, once again, in my opinion, DLTs, tokens, etc. That's what you're looking at. All right. So moving on, take Bitcoin and its total market value of $337 billion, okay? Keep in mind, total market value of $337 billion, with approximately 40% of Bitcoin's circulating supply held by investors who have zero desire to put these tokens back into circulation. It means there's only about 200 billion Bitcoin tokens that can be used for day-to-day transactions. Now, I look at that and I said to myself, well, there's also the fractional side of how those can be put into day-to-day transactions. So hypothetically, and once again, I'm not an investor or financial advisor. It's just me as I think about things from a layman's perspective. I look at that and I go, okay, yes, but if hypothetically, in this case, Bitcoin moons up to $100,000, you can do fractional aspects of Bitcoin, Satoshis, and still be able to get a lot of transactions done. Now, and I'm setting aside the speed issues that Bitcoin has. Once again, you can do the same thing with Ethereum, and Ethereum 2.0, I believe, is getting ready to be released. So I'm looking into the Matic side of that personally. But anyway, so you can see how that could be another angle of this that could help with day-to-day transactions. Now, another concern is that crypto investors are placing their hope in digital tokens when it's actually the underlying blockchain technology that holds the real potential. New people, new to the industry, new to automotive blockchain channel, that is a big thing that you must keep in concern. And I really appreciate the author here of this article kind of bringing that to light. You have to keep in mind of the underlying blockchain technology. It's not the digital tokens. Just as he writes up here, often lacks utility. So you have to make sure that the blockchain, the distributed ledger technology, the hash technology that's associated with these tokens has real potential in whatever market they are in. One of the ones you've heard me talk about many times is on the artificial intelligence side, whether it be IOTA or IOTEX. They have real world utility, and they're very unique in how they do on how they go about doing things. So that is just one area that you want to keep in mind. So, hey everyone, the last point I want to make it here is that, and this is what the author of this is suggesting. The point is, a convincing case hasn't been made that that world even needs digital tokens like Bitcoin or Ripple. Once again, do not rip this guy apart, because we understand that the token is not Ripple, it is XRP, and I'm pretty sure this person knows that. So just keep that in mind, the digital tokens like Bitcoin or Ripple. I personally don't necessarily agree with that statement. I think there are many convincing cases, especially in the case of XRP/Ripple's technology. associated with that. There is definitely a real world use case and quite convincing. I believe there are a number of people in government areas as well as banks all across the world that would find some convincing statements behind it. Overall, hey, this is a great article in my opinion from this author up here. Go ahead and click the link to see Sean Williams' article about the 3 most dangerous investing bubbles waiting to burst. And thank you all for joining the Automotive Blockchain channel.